Welcome. Thank you for your patience. I will now call the Affordability Committee meeting to order at 5:20 p.m. This meeting is being held in person and electronically in accordance with the Municipal Act. With the consent of the committee, I would like to alter the order of business such that the presentation concerning draft 2 of Barrie's new zoning bylaw is considered before the public meeting, as the meeting cannot start until 6 p.m. Is the committee in agreement? Yes, they are. We will now proceed with the presentation. Carl?
Thank you very much, Chair Nixon, and good afternoon to everybody. My name is Michelle Banfield. I'm the Director of Development Services at the City of Barrie, and I'm joined today as well by Tom Wiersba, who is the Supervisor of Growth Management. We are going to talk to you a little bit about where we're at with the City of Barrie's draft new comprehensive zoning bylaw. So this is a bit about kind of the history of it, a bit of what we've done consultation so far, the need for council feedback, and some key issues that are going to shape the next draft, what we've heard, and some next steps. So zoning, and why does it matter? Well, we know we have a new official plan, which is a long-range planning policy document that, as I said, is recently approved, and it really is intended to guide the city to a population of 300,000 people by 2051. The zoning bylaw always kind of comes behind the official plan. It's a little bit closer to the ground, and it really brings the official plan closer to reality. It is a document that impacts every single property in the city of Barrie, whether it's residential or commercial, a community hub, a school. Every single property is impacted and zoned by the city's zoning bylaw. And this is a new zoning bylaw. Many of you that may have followed the official plan, at the same time we said the official plan was a new document, so is this new zoning bylaw. So it is new, it is different, but it's still a draft, and there still is lots of time to comment and connect on this new zoning bylaw. So the new zoning bylaw, really the structure of it was established in the official plan, and it was the framework for community growth. Different areas in the city were established and identified as areas that can accept growth. That would be a great area for areas for intensification. It identified land uses around our major transit station areas, which is our GO stations, employment areas, making sure that we are still reserving land for jobs and people to work in the city, as well as neighborhood areas, which is where most people live and play. And then, of course, are very important, preserving our natural heritage system and parks. So the zoning bylaw really just builds on the structure that was established in the official plan. So the consultation to date, and as I said, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the consultation, and then Tom is going to talk to you a bit more about what we actually heard through the consultation. But what I really want to stress to everybody is that the consultation to date has been non-statutory. So what that means is the province of Ontario says to every municipality, if you're going to start a zoning bylaw, if you're going to do a zoning bylaw, if you're going to change your zoning bylaw, there are certain things we want you to do, and there's certain ways we want you to connect with the public. And that is an open house and a statutory public meeting and a council report and decision. The City of Barrie planning staff always thinks about the statutory consultation as the bare minimum. And so everything that we've done, as I said, to date has not been required by the Planning Act, but we will still need to do that. Statutory consultation is forthcoming. We've done a lot of stakeholder engagement. We've started pretty much on the project as soon as the previous council adopted the new official plan, we started work on the zoning bylaw. We did some quick take works. We did a draft 1 that had some comments out, a period for commenting. We've done a draft 2, which we kind of say is we've done it like as a bit of a soft release. So it was released in June, making some early points of revisions based on some of that early feedback. We did throughout the summer some targeted consultation with property owners that have properties subject to special provisions. And again, all of this is not necessarily required, but it's about trying to get people to be aware of the project and understand what it actually means to them. So there is absolutely more consultation to come. We always suggest that people go to buildingberry.ca and look at the zoning bylaw project that gets updated frequently. You can send emails to staff. Staff are always here to answer questions and help members of the public understand what the zoning bylaw is and what it means to their property. Head over to Tom now.
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon, everybody. Our goal tonight is to highlight some of the themes that about the feedback we received through a consultation on draft 2 of the zoning bylaw, as well as the special provisions. Excuse me. As with all things land use, all matters are interrelated. So many of the themes that you hear about tonight are going to be interconnected. For example, affordability is related to traffic and context-sensitive design. So therefore, how staff respond to the feedback that we received on draft 2 of the zoning bylaw will shape the next draft. So given the impact of how we responded to the feedback received, we are preparing a series of guidelines that will direct staff how to respond to the feedback received. These guidelines or guiding principles will be presented to General Committee on November 1st through a staff report. The report will seek committee to endorse these guiding principles so that staff can start writing the next draft of the zoning bylaw. So while we are seeking committee's endorsements of these guidelines, we will, as we have throughout the consultation period on the zoning bylaw, continue to consult with the public, with stakeholders and council on the topics you'll hear about tonight and other topics. So the topics shown on this slide are those that staff, through consultation with the public and with stakeholders, have developed solutions. And these issues tend to be more technical in nature. For example, we heard that we need to provide more clarity around the status of existing lots, existing uses, and existing buildings, and we need to be clear around permitted uses to avoid negatively impacting existing businesses. We also learned that we need to revisit our approach regarding parking standards, particularly bicycle parking. And we need to be better aligned with our community structure when designing parking standards. We also received lots of support for rezoning lands that are still subject to the Town of Innisfil zoning bylaw to facilitate their development. And we also learned through consultation with the development industry how we can provide for a better transition to the new zoning bylaw by doing things like providing flexibility in our community hub, open space, and park zones. Now, the themes shown on this slide are a little bit more complex, with staff often receiving diverging, conflicting views and opinions. So, as mentioned earlier, we are going to prepare a series of guiding principles that will help us navigate or navigate through this feedback so we can develop the next draft of the zoning bylaw. So the first of these themes that are more complex is zoning for compact and complete communities. So the draft zoning bylaw proposes to permit, in a context-sensitive manner, a wider variety of housing types in existing neighborhoods, effectively ending exclusionary zoning. This more permissive approach to housing is, in our opinion, in line with the official plan as well as council's strategic priorities and goals. However, residents have certainly expressed their concern about this approach. In addition to planning for compact and complete communities, we are trying to make a zoning bylaw that is applicable citywide. So this is why the draft zoning bylaw proposes to replace zoning created exclusively for the former secondary plans and replace them with more dense and more permissive zoning. So while we think that there's a number of benefits to consolidating zoning in this way, the development industry has certainly expressed their concern about the loss of zoning that was developed for the former secondary plains. Another topic that we heard about from the development industry was related to height and density. Specifically, we received feedback that the zoning bylaw is not going as far as the OP in terms of permitting height and density. So while the zoning bylaw does meet in some instances the heights and densities permitted in the OP, it does not do that as a blanket. So in this sense, while the zoning bylaw is more permissive, it is also context sensitive. And in our view, being context sensitive in terms of building height means ensuring that buildings, whether they are townhomes or high rises, are of a scale that is appropriate to the area in which they are proposed to be located. So to be context sensitive in this way, we strategically use different zones in the same category to gradiate height up or down. And this means that any height that is above what is permitted in the zoning bylaw will have to proceed or will have to be approved through a planning act process on a case-by-case basis. Unlike height, however, the draft zoning bylaw does propose to prescribe maximum densities that is in line with the official plan. And we are doing this to try to achieve the built form types that we are looking to get in our intensification areas. And lastly, I'm going to talk about building performance and design, which is something we heard a lot about through consultation. So to ensure that tall development is context sensitive, as I discussed earlier, the draft zoning bylaw includes standards that are related to, for example, the strategic use of angular planes to ensure that tall buildings are well integrated within existing communities. We also providing standards that create walkable and pleasant streetscapes by limiting the length of buildings to, so make sure we don't have long blank walls or towering overlook conditions. And we also provide direction on separation distances to make sure that buildings are not placed so close together that we create wind tunnels, entrapment areas, or impassable winter conditions. As expected, however, following Bill 23, the development industry has expressed concern about building performance and design standards in the zoning bylaw. So I've just summarized that, as I said it earlier, on November 1st, we're proposing a series of, we're going to provide a lot more information about the feedback we received than I covered today. We're also going to provide a series of guiding principles that will shape how we respond to the feedback. And we are seeking committees and council endorsement of these principles so that we can confidently draft the next version of the zoning bylaw. And this next version of the zoning bylaw will be used for the statutory consultation that Michelle mentioned earlier. And that's it for me, Michelle. I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. As I alluded to earlier, there is a lot of information already on the Buildingberry website under this project specific page, if you will. And there is also a dedicated zoning bylaw email that's up there, and that will reach a handful of staff that are working on this project. I encourage not only all of you, but if you are hearing from any of your residents or people that want to kind of know a bit more about it, I just encourage you to send them to staff. We've been having lots of fantastic conversations with all sorts of people in our community, residents, businesses, some of the development industry. So as I keep saying, even though we are looking at releasing another draft of it, it's by no way a final document. It is a draft. It's still very fluid. All of these conversations are still very much alive and happening. And we even expect there to be changes from the version that we do that statutory consultation on before we actually are in a position to bring something back for council to debate and discuss. So thank you so much for your attention. We're happy to answer questions if there are questions. And as I said, there'll be some more information in the coming weeks and months on this project. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from members of committee? Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair Nixon. And this is more of a comment, just to thank you to staff, knowing how important this document is, and it's a long process. So it's not a question, just understanding that we're only at draft 2, just for the public to realize we're a long way from the finish line, and it's really an opportunity for engagement with our development community, our residents, and members of council. So just thank you for the work that's already went into this and the approach you're taking.
Thank you. Are there any questions from other members of council in attendance? Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you. And through you, Chair Nixon, just to echo my colleague, again, thank you for the presentation. It's helpful and informative. And I've had a number of meetings with you and staff and my residents. So I just want to commend you and the work that you've done. Just a question in regard to timelines. As you said, this is sort of middle stage of the process, still lots of work to do. And I do appreciate the willingness of you guys listening to the feedback and inputting it in the next drafts. What are the timelines? What can we expect in terms of when we're hoping to kind of finalize this or the next draft that we presented? Just the public is sort of aware what timelines and maybe you can talk a little bit about the approach to ongoing opportunities for feedback as well.
Through you, Chair Nixon, to Councillor Hamilton, the planning world is very fluid. And so there are some things that are going on at the provincial level that might have an impact on some of our timing. But let's pretend we're just going to move ahead. So, as I said, we're going to be having some time to be in front of council in November, early November, to get some of the feedback that you're hearing from your residents is going to be a big part of what forms the next draft. The intention is still to have a draft released before the end of this year, and then do the consultation in the early part of like Q1 of 2024. So that consultation, as I said, the consultation is going on right now. Anybody can send a letter or email us anytime. And then the robust kind of consultation that'll start with the release of the next draft will be obviously all of our regular social media channels, digital with Barry Today and the work that our communications team has done that. So I always encourage everybody to follow City of Barry on all of our social media channels, as well as, there'll be an open house, which will be a face-to-face opportunity that would be, I would say, a little less formal, like people can kind of come in and look at the maps and ask us questions. A statutory public meeting that would be just like any other public meeting where people can come and speak or register to speak either in person or virtually. Still opportunity to send us emails and letters. And then all of that feedback, like any other planning application, all of the feedback we receive would be part of any sort of formal report back to council. So you know how we do the comment we heard and the response. So except in a zoning bylaw like this, it would be much more robust than usually it's a few paragraphs or a few pages. So, but any comment that we hear would be responded to so council can understand, the comment we heard and if there has been any changes to the proposed document based on that feedback.
Thank you for that. And I think it's absolutely critical that residents are given an opportunity to provide their input in this, because this is really important. Obviously, it affects where we live and what the future of our city is going to look like. So please do let us know how we can help and how we can engage and encourage our residents to take advantage of the opportunities to provide feedback. So looking forward to hearing more about those opportunities that are forthcoming.
Anyone else? Members of council? No? Okay, thank you very much. I want to ask the committee if they have any opposition to moving the rest of the agenda forward due to any opposition to it? Okay. Then we will carry on. There's one public meeting being held this evening. If you are joining. Got ahead of myself there. I apologize. We will now move directly to referred items. There is one referred item this evening that was deferred from the September 27th Affordable Committee meeting. 5.1, which is memorandum review of right-of-way design standards for Salem and Hewitt areas. Can I have a member of committee place the correspondence on the floor to be received? Councillor Harris. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Any members of council in attendance? No. Councilor Morales.
Thank you, Councillor Nixon. To the appropriate staffer, I think it's clerk's office, it might be Ms. Cook. I have questions about it. I just don't have the bandwidth right now at this meeting. So don't worry, no hour meeting. Will there be future opportunities? So I think I know this, but it goes to general committee. And then I'll be ready by then. But if I'm not, separate report and then one more time. So I get 2 more opportunities. Perfect. No hour meeting, Deputy Mayor Thompson.
So, all in favor? Carried. Reports of advisory committees. There is one advisory committee report to be received. 6.1, the report of the Heritage Berry Committee dated September 26, 2023. And I have a member of committee put the report on the floor to be received.
I will put the motion on the floor.
Thank you. Can I have a member? Oh, sorry. Are there any questions for members of committee? Members of council in attendance? All those in favor? Carries unanimously. There is one recommendation from the Heritage Berry Committee report dated September 26, 2023 for the committee's consideration, which is Municipal Heritage Register at 194 Collier Street.
I will put the motion on the floor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Thompson. As this motion is on the floor, are there any questions from members of the committee? Seeing none. Members of council in attendance? Seeing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay, at this. Yes, we will now recess until 6 p.m. and it is now 5:42. Thank you very much. Okay, it is 6 PM and we shall continue with one public meeting. If you are joining the meeting virtually and have not yet registered and wish to speak, please email cityclerks@barrie.ca or call 705-739-4220 extension 5500, and staff will send you the information required to participate virtually. Tonight's public meeting is to review an application for a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by KLM Planning Partners, Inc. on behalf of Water Sand Construction, Inc. for lands municipally known as 229 McKay Road West. The application was deemed complete under the Planning Act to proceed with a public meeting. Members of Affordability Committee will listen to the presentation and receive an update on the application status from city staff. Comments heard during the public meeting will not be commented on or debated tonight. Members of Affordability Committee will have an opportunity to provide comments at the time General Committee is considering the staff report at a later date. The ward councillor will have an opportunity to ask questions of clarification on behalf of residents unable to attend the meeting. Other committee members can ask questions of staff by email after the meeting. Interested persons wishing notification of the staff report should sign the notification form located on the table at the back of the council chambers or email cityclerks@barrie.ca. Michelle Banfield, Director of Development Services, would you please confirm that the notifications were conducted in accordance with the Planning Act for tonight's public meeting?
Yes, Chair Nixon, it was.
Thank you very much. I will now call upon Lauren Dines of KLM Planning Partners, Inc. to provide the presentation concerning a zoning bylaw amendment for lands known municipally as 229 McKay Road West.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of staff, and members of committee. My name is Lauren Dines, and I'm a land use planner with KLM Planning Partners, representing Regal Crest Homes, Aspen Ridge Homes, Remington Homes, and Countrywide Homes in care of Water Sand Construction Limited with respect to their application for zoning bylaw amendment. A presentation has been prepared to provide information on the proposal. The new City of Barrie official plan designates the subject blocks as neighborhood area. The neighborhood area designation permits various residential uses, including lane-based townhouse dwellings, which were already draft plan approved in June of 2017. The subject zoning bylaw amendment application conforms to the new City of Barrie official plan. The lands outlined in red represent the draft approved plan of subdivision, which was approved in June of 2017. The zoning bylaw amendment only applies to the 4.5 meter and 6 meter laneway townhouses outlined in brown along McKay Road West. The proposed amendments to the zoning bylaw, as noted on this slide, are to permit the introduction of a double car garage and 2 garage parking spaces, which was not previously contemplated at the time the neighborhood residential R5 zone was created. The proposal amends the zone standards with respect to size of parking spaces, lot coverage for accessory structures, garage width, garage door width, front yard setback, and setbacks for accessory structures. We believe that the proposed amendments to the zoning bylaw represent good planning and will increase the usability of the garages. These are some representative examples of what the proposed laneway townhouses could look like upon completion. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions that committee members may have.
Thank you. I will now call upon Michelle Freely, Senior Planner, to provide an update on the status of the application.
Apologies, Chair Nixon. It's going to be me. Michelle, be twice again, twice this evening. And thank you so much for the introduction. And further to the presentation, planning staff are just completing the technical review of the application. There is a memo that was attached to the agenda, so that gives a little bit more of an update. We didn't do a neighborhood meeting for this project due to the limited number of properties within our neighborhood circulation distance. Either the property owners are part of the Salem Secondary Plan Landowners Group, and they already have either draft approval or are working on obtaining approvals. This isn't unusual for our practice in the secondary plan areas. If there aren't many residents living there, we don't have that neighborhood meeting. That being said, though, the technical review still is underway. There are not only our city departments, but also external agencies, and the things that we always take a look at are compliance with the city's official plan, and they attend to the zoning bylaw. You know, there are some potential impacts on snow storage, snow clearing, traffic and pedestrian safety along this rear laneway proposal. So we are trying to take a look at some of those technical issues. As always, in the secondary plan areas, site servicing, grading, stormwater management, as it relates to the master plan studies for that area, we always review and make sure any proposal is consistent with that. And then they did, as it was highlighted in the presentation, there are a certain number of site-specific provisions that are being requested, and staff always review every single one of them for their appropriateness and justification that was submitted for them. So the expected return to council date is before the end of the year, hopefully. All the comments that we hear tonight, as well as the technical comments, will be addressed in the final planning staff report. All of the key dates, submission materials, anything associated with the application are available on the city's proposed development website. This is in Ward 7, and you can always contact the file manager directly, who is, as you said before, Michelle Freedy. So thanks so much for your attention.
Thank you. Moving on to public comments. If you are joining the meeting virtually, have you not yet registered and wish to speak, please email cityclerks@barrie.ca or call 705-739-4220 extension 5500. Staff will send you the information required to participate virtually. It's my understanding there are no persons registered in advance. Okay. Are there any comments from members of the public in attendance? If so, please approach the podium if you wish to speak and begin by stating your full name and address for the record. Seeing none. Councillor Harvey, do you have any comments or questions of clarification?
Just a few, Chair Nixon. Thank you, Ms. Dines, for your presentation. Now, I know staff just highlighted that in some of the comments in regards to snow removal, because obviously the laneway, especially between the two rows, is quite narrow. How do you plan on dealing with that issue? Because I could see moving forward that essentially the city, it would cost more to conduct snow removal in this area as a result of the change of built form.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Harvey. We will continue to work with staff through any of those comments that come up through ongoing discussions with staff discussing those certain specific potential issues. I do have Keith McKinnon from KLM Planning on the line. I don't know if he would like to speak to that specific comment, but he has joined the meeting virtually.
I don't hear him chiming in. Oh, there he goes.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Apologies for not being able to be in attendance. My colleague Lauren certainly has done a great job. But through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Harvey with respect to the question on snow clearing. So I guess a couple of things, as Lauren noted in her presentation, this draft plan, was draft approved in 2017 with the lane-based product. So that is not changing. It is approved as it is, and all we're asking for is for some site-specific provisions to amend to allow for double car garages. So what that ultimately does is it does not change the impact of the lane itself. So the lane, as it was designed back in 2017, is not to have parking on the laneway itself. It is not a pedestrian-oriented location. It is merely for residents that live in those lane-based towns to provide access to the rear of their units. So in terms of snow clearing, et cetera, there should be no issues because there will be no on-street parking within those laneways.
Just a follow-up, if I could, Mr. McKinnon. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but by looking at one of your slides here, you are looking for a front yard setback that is reduced down to 1.5 meters, which was not part of the original proposal from what I can see here. And obviously 1.5 meters doesn't give a lot of space for snow to go when it comes to some of the heavier snowfalls. Can you speak to that piece of it, please?
Yep, absolutely. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Harvey. So the reason for that, and I guess I should say that 1.5 meter is not intended to extend across the entire frontage of Mackay Road. It is only for a portion up until about the mid-block west of where Reed Drive connects to Mackay. And the reason for that is because when the plan was draft approved, we did provide a road widening for Mackay Road as requested by city staff. However, as the design of the intersection of Mackay and Veterans was ongoing post-draft approval, the request was for additional road widenings in that area that was not previously contemplated. So as a result, and in discussions with staff, it was agreed upon that instead of completely reorienting and revising the draft plan, that we would just apply a smaller setback for Mackay Road for a certain portion of those units that were impacted by the additional widening that came about after draft plan approval.
Okay, thank you. And just one last question, and this would be to staff. Now I see on one of the pages of your report, all the street names are identified. I know at a previous, very recent council meeting, we had discussions around street names and things of that sort and how it might be suitable for Veterans Drive to have areas that would be in honor of our veterans. The street names that are noted here, are these already past the point of no return, or do they have some type of historical significance to this plot of land, or is there an opportunity where we could still move forward on this particular phase in honoring some of our veterans?
Through you, Chair Nixon, to Councillor Harvey, if they're shown on the draft plan, then they would have been secured through the draft plan. And sometimes council will see those staff reports that come through where we say we can't change this street name because it's already been enshrined in the draft plan. So if it's on the draft plan, it can't be changed. But I'll just take that back and see if there are any in this actual subdivision that aren't named. Or I think I had said initially there were for sure some other subdivisions in Ward 7 that do not have street names named already, and we can work with you on the naming of those streets.
Great, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Thank you. If anyone has any further written comments, you can submit them to Michelle Freethy at michelle.freethy@berry.ca. Thank you. We moving to referred items. There was one referred item this evening that was I had so much fun doing it the first time. I thought I'd do it all over again.
It's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah. Okay. At this point, I will move for adjournment. Second. Thank you.
I'd like to move to proceed.